Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another video. It's that time again. What we're going to be doing today is looking over our NFL Week 6 games. We're going to go over every single game, try to predict the outcome, but what we're doing is we're going to be focusing on our best bets for this video. That's looking at the money lines, the spreads, and the over-unders for every single game for Week 6 of the 2024 NFL football season. And make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, drop them below and I will respond. Every week we go over every single NFL game, and we also do the same thing for every college football game as well. Every single week, the money lines, the spreads, and the over-unders. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed so you can follow along with us. Our Thursday night game is already in the books. We had the 49ers beating the Seahawks. We did call that game accurately, so we're going to be moving on to our Sunday games and kicking things off. We have a really early one. We have our London NFL game at 9:30 a.m. And when you're looking at this game, you have the Jags playing the Bears. This game is in London. When you're completely across the country, look for some potential crazy things to happen. It is a far road game for both teams. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Chicago Bears. Right now, the Bears slight favorites. They are 1-point favorites. The over-under here is 44.5. This is going to be a fun game. So when you're looking at this matchup, you have the Bears with a 59% chance to win this game. Right now, the Jags, they had their first win of the season. Props to them. They finally got that off their shoulders. They still have a lot of things that they need to work on, but Trevor Lawrence had the best game of his career last weekend. He actually set his passing record for his career. I think he threw for about 380 passing yards. Props to them. Right now, they come in. They average 19.4 points per game. They're throwing for 201.6. They're running for 126.2, but it's their defense that still has a lot of holes in it. The Colts, with Joe Flacco, were able to constantly vertically push the ball down the field. They are giving up 28.6 points per game. And their defense, they give up 288 passing yards every single game. So that just lets you know there's going to be a lot of opportunities here for the Bears to use that wide receiver core they have and to continue to push the ball down the field. Looking at the Bears, they're getting better every single week. Since their week 1 performance, I said Caleb Williams was going to get better every single week, and he definitely has. First week, he had 93 passing yards, and it's consistently gone up every week because the offensive line has been playing better. He was the most rushed, most sacked quarterback. When you give him time, he can find those targets downfield. Right now, they're averaging 22.6. They're throwing for 191.8. They're running for 95.4. And a solid defense, only giving up 17 points per game. That defense should travel to London. When you look at the Jags, they have Lawrence, Bigbee, Thomas Jr., Kirk. Thomas Jr. having a great season so far, and the Bears are deep. They have Williams, Swift, Moore, Odunze. I have the Bears winning this one in London, 27-20, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over here. And the next matchup we're looking at 1 p.m. on Sunday, we have the 2-3 Arizona Cardinals. They'll be playing the 3-2 Green Bay Packers. Right now, the Packers have a 61.7% chance to win this game. They are the favorites, 5-point favorites right now. The over-under here is 47.5. This is going to be a really good game. This is 2 young quarterbacks. This is 2 guys that are mobile. This is 2 guys that can sling it vertically down the field. Both teams have really good offenses, but it's the Packers who have a good defense as well. They're a very balanced team. They can throw it. They can run it. But the Cardinals, last week, I said Kyler Murray was due for one of those games where he just gets hot, he goes off. He started out the game with like a 45-yard rushing touchdown. So he is due right now. They are hot. Looking at the Cardinals, they come in, they're averaging 24 points a game. They're throwing for 181.6. They're running for 156.4, and their defense is giving up 25.8 points per game. That's not good. That's not bad. But their biggest issue on defense is their pass rush. They have to get pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. And look at their rush defense. They're giving up 147.8 rushing yards per game. That is a massive weakness because the Packers are one of the best rushing teams, and the Cardinals have trouble on the defensive side. Looking at Green Bay, they average 25.6 points a game. Jordan Love is fully healthy right now. They are throwing for 227.8. They're running for 164.8. And their defense is solid, giving up 21.6 points per game. The Packers are going to get after it. When I first looked at this game at the beginning of this week, I actually picked the Cardinals to upset But sorry, guys, I actually flipped here. The more I thought on it, I have the Packers taking this game. They're way too balanced. They have Jordan Love, Jacobs, Reed. Look for them to line up and run it down the Cardinals' throat. I have Green Bay winning this one at home 26-23, not covering the spread, but I will be going with the over. And the next game we're looking at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 2-3 Colts coming off that loss versus the Jags. They'll be playing the 1-3 Tennessee Titans, who are coming off the bye week. Right now, it's the Colts who have a 52.5% chance to win this game, but it's the Titans who are surprisingly the Vegas favorites here. 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 42.5. Looking at the Colts, they were really banged up last week. They were down Anthony Richardson. They were down Jonathan Taylor. That's a massive loss. Starting quarterback down, star running back down. Flacco comes out. He throws for 350. He was slinging the ball down the field. They still have some weapons. They still had Pierce. Whether it's Richardson or Flacco this game, I don't know that it necessarily matters. Tennessee is not a very good team. Looking at Tennessee, they're averaging 19.8 points a game. They're only throwing for 145. They're only running for 111.3. So they're basically averaging 250 yards every game on offense. That is really bad, but they have the bye. Maybe they worked on some things, and their defense is giving up 22.5. Looking at the Colts, they average 23.8 points a game, throwing for 225.2, running for 125.2, and their defense is giving up 24.4. So the Colts definitely need to work on their defense, but they do have a pretty decent offense. So they are able to push the ball. If Jonathan Taylor plays, the guy can run it. He can catch the ball out the backfield. I personally think Flacco is actually the better option as your starting quarterback right now. I've never been too high on Anthony Richardson. He has some great physical assets there, but Flacco's the far better passer. He still has his arm. He still has the cannon. He's the better option for this team. I have the Colts getting the upset here, beating Tennessee 27-16. The spread not being covered, and I'm just barely going with the over there. And the next one is 1 p.m. We have the 4-1 Houston Texans playing the 1-4 New England Patriots. Right now, the Patriots are riding a 4-game losing streak. They won week 1, have not won a game since then, and the Texans are riding hot right now, coming off of a win in week 5. Right now, the Texans have a 68.9% chance to win this game. They are pretty big favorites here. They are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 37.5. The big news is the Patriots. Jacoby Brissett will not be the starting quarterback. They're going to roll with their rookie, Drake May. And this is a tall task to ask. He has to come out. He has to outduel one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. Texans are averaging 20.4 points a game. One of the best passing teams in the nation. They throw for 272.4 yards per game. They run for 104.2. And their defense is giving up 22.8 points per game. But New England has been atrocious on the defensive side. Right now, they only average 12.4 points per game. That's bottom 3 in the NFL. They only throw for 119.4. They run for 131.4. Solid defense, though, giving up 20.4 points. That's not bad considering the fact that they're on the field the whole game. Looking at the Texans, they have a great offensive squad. Stroud, he's closing in on 1,400 yards right now. He has 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. He has Mixon when healthy. Collins, Diggs. Right now, Collins is pretty danged up right now, but it shouldn't matter. This team is very deep at the wide receiver positions, tight end, running back. New England, they're basically going to be led by Stevenson. He's the quarterback's best friend. He's closing in on 400 yards, but you're not going to be able to only run on the Texans. Drake May will have to step up to make some big-time throws. I have C.J. Stroud controlling this game. They win it in the end. I have the Texans winning this one 24-16. I have them covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. Stroud versus Drake May seems to me, as of right now, to be a pretty safe pick. The next one's going to be a battle of the Oklahoma Sooner quarterbacks on Fox at 1 p.m. 3-2 Tampa Bay coming off that shootout with the Falcons. They'll be playing 2-3 New Orleans Saints, the hottest team in the country the first 2 weeks. Since then, one of the worst. Right now, Tampa Bay has a 61.4% chance to win this game. They are 3.5-point favorites. I'm actually surprised it's that low. The over-under here is 41.5. The reason I say that I'm surprised is Derek Carr is not going to play this game. He is banged up. He is out. This team is really hurt. They have a really good roster. They're capable of playing well, but their leader's out. Right now, Baker Mayfield closing in on 1,200 yards. He has 11 touchdowns, only 2 picks so far. Tampa Bay has a great offense. They're averaging 25.4 points per game. They have 213 passing yards per game. They run for 108.8, and their defense is giving up 22.4. Their biggest issue on defense is their pass defense. Thankfully for them, the Saints are going to be rolling out rookie Spencer Rattler. He's going to be getting his first start here, and he has to get it versus a team that made the playoffs last year. But New Orleans overall has a very good offensive roster. They average 28 points a game. They throw for 196. They run for 227.2, and a solid defense giving up 19.2 points per game. Looking at Tampa Bay, they have Mayfield, they have Irving, Godwin, Evans, a very experienced veteran wide receiver core that's always going to make the difference in the really tough games. But this game really shouldn't be tough. It's Baker Mayfield, comeback player of the year last year, versus a rookie Saints quarterback, but yet they still do have a deep roster. They have Kamara, Shaheed, Olave. I have Tampa Bay pulling this one out. Baker should be able to guide them through this game, but crazy things have happened this season. I have the Buccaneers winning this one, 27-16, covering the spread. I'm going with the over. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 1-4 Cleveland Browns. Outside of that win versus the Jags, they have been awful so far this season, and I won't be nice. It's mostly Deshaun Watson's fault. They'll be playing the 2-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, the Eagles have a 69.5% chance to win this game. They are massive favorites here coming off the bye. They are 9.5-point favorites. That is a massive spread for an NFL game. The over-under here is 42.5. The biggest question is, can the Eagles cover that enormous spread? Right now, the Browns, they only average 15.8 points per game. That is awful. Watson has been awful. He gets sacked. All the sacks aren't the offensive line's fault. He's been completely oblivious back there. He cannot accurately throw the ball past 5 yards. They have weapons. Ford, Judy, Cooper. He just can't distribute the ball to anyone. He's a shell of his former self. He has so much off-the-field stuff going on. Do we see Jameis Winston at some point? Does he start this game? I don't know, but the Browns are in trouble. They only throw for 142.8. They run for 96.6. They have a top 10 defense, but they can't get off the field because the offense constantly goes 3 and out. They're giving up 24.2. For the Eagles, this is a team that's been turnover plagued since the second half of last season, but their roster is so talented. Sometimes they have too many turnovers. Sometimes they can overcome the turnovers because they have immense amount of talent. They're averaging 21 points a game. They pass for 211.8. They run for 153.8. And their defense is giving up 24 points per game. But they're loaded. They have Jalen Hurts. They have quite possibly the best running back in the NFL. They have Saquon Barkley. They have Dallas, they have A.J. Brown, they have Smith. Brown's probably going to play this game, so their offensive roster got even better. I have the Eagles cruising here. Might be a sloppy first half, they might be rusty, but I have them ultimately winning this game 27-17, covering the massive spread, and I'm going with the over. This next game to me is the game of the weekend for the NFL on CBS at 1 p.m. 4-1 Washington Commanders. Shout out to the Commanders. They were awful last season. This year, they're 4-1, one of the most fun teams to watch. They'll be playing the 3-2 Baltimore Ravens, who are on a roll right now. Right now, the Ravens has a 64.3% chance to win this game. They are the favorites, 6.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 51.5. This game is setting up to have a lot of points. So this is two of the highest scoring teams in the NFL. They both have top 5 offenses. Right now, Washington, they are obviously led by Jaden Daniels. He is the rookie of the year so far through the first 5 weeks. They average 31 points a game. They throw for 214.2. They run for 178.4. He can run it. He can throw it. And their defense is much improved because they have a more efficient offense this season. They're only giving up 23 points a game. They are giving up 198 yards to the air, 130 on the ground. Baltimore, though, they are definitely no slouch. They have 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. He's having a really good season this year. So he is closing in on 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, and only 1 pick so far. And that's not even all of the rushing touchdowns he has. They are averaging 29.4. They throw for 236.4. They run for 211.2. They're averaging 450 yards per game. Defense is getting better. It's been kind of a slow start for them this year. They are giving up 25.2 points per game. And they're giving up 280 passing yards. So there may be some opportunities for Daniels to find guys wide open down the field. But they're only giving up 60.4 rushing yards. It's going to be hard to run on them, but it's going to be easy to throw on them. And they have a pretty bad secondary, but they have a great defensive line. And they have a loaded roster. When you're looking at their skill they have Lamar Jackson. They have Derrick Henry, who's closing in on 600 rushing yards. They have Flowers. They have Andrews. They have Likely. They were the number one rushing team in the NFL last season. And in the offseason, they went out and they added Derrick Henry. They got even better. This team is deep. They can throw it. They can run it. I have the Ravens winning this one at the end of the fourth quarter, 28-24. Not covering the spread, going with the over just barely, but this is a 50-50 game. I would not be surprised if either team won it, but I have to go with the veteran Jackson. The next game we're looking at 4:05 p.m. on CBS, the 2-2 LA Chargers coming off the bye versus the 3-2 Denver Broncos. No one got off to a worse start than the Broncos. They were 0-2. Bo Nix looked awful, but they're riding a 3-game winning streak right now. First off, props to Sean Payton. He's completely rounded this team. Props to Bo Nix. He's played very well in week 3, week 4, and week 5. They're playing to his strengths. Short, dink and dunk passing, roll the pocket, keep him mobile. Right now, the Chargers, they are led by Harbaugh. This is a Harbaugh team. They run the ball. They play great defense. That's what they do. They don't take chances. They're only averaging 17 points a game, 136 passing yards. That sounds crazy to say considering they have Justin Herbert, but they just haven't needed him to vertically push the ball. But if the game's close, if they need to score points, at least they have the peace of mind knowing they have a quarterback that's capable of going for 350 any weekend. They are running for 127.8 and an elite top 3 defense, are only giving up 12.5 points per game. Looking at Denver, these teams are very close. They score 19.2 points a game. They throw for 163.8. They run for 106.8. And their defense is only giving up 14.6. They have a top 5 defense. This is going to be a defensive focus game. This game is going to be decided in the trenches. Both teams, Chargers, they have J.K. Dobbins. They have Herbert, Ladd, Denver. They have Bo Nix, Williams, Sutton. But both teams are going to rely on their defenses. I think the Chargers with their defense and the X factor of the veteran Justin Herbert. I have the Chargers winning this one 23-16, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over here. Our next matchup is going to be at 4:05 p.m. on CBS. The 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers coming off that loss versus the Cowboys. They'll be playing the 2-3 Las Vegas Raiders. This is an interesting game. Raiders, let's be honest, guys, they might be getting worse every week going forward. Looking at these two teams, you have the Steelers as a 3-point favorite. The over-under here is 36.5, and the Steelers have a 57% chance to win this game as of right now. Steelers, they are a Mike Tomlin-focused team. Them, just like the Chargers, they're going to play defense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play sound special teams. They're averaging 18.4 points a game. They're throwing for 178.2. They're running for 121.2. And a top 5 defense, only giving up 14.6 points a game. They can shut down the pass. They can shut down the run. A very good team. They have Russell Wilson fully healthy. I've been saying it all year. Do not put the guy on the field. Roll with Justin Fields right now. He has the higher ceiling at this point of their career. He can lead this team. And the Raiders, they should not have the defense that can even test him. He should be able to have holes open throwing as well as running the ball. Looking at the Raiders, they average 19.2 points a game. They throw for 213. They run for 84. Those are pretty bad numbers, and they have a lot of turnovers, and their defense is pretty bad. They are giving up 26.2 points per game. That's bottom 10 in overall defense. Looking at the Steelers, they have Fields, Harris, Pickens. Raiders have Minshew, White, Bowers. Adams is probably never going to suit up in the Raiders uniform. I'd be very surprised. So he's not going to be there. He's their number one playmaker. Gardner Minshew is not starting this game. They are going with O'Connell. Even though Minshew turns the ball over, I still think he's better than O'Connell. I have the Raiders losing this one. I have the Steelers winning easily, 23-13. I have them covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under. This next matchup is going to be a fun one. It's a revenge game for the Lions for that game versus the Cowboys last year. On Fox at 4:25, we have the 3-1 Detroit Lions versus the 3-2 Dallas Cowboys. Right now, the Lions are the favorite, 57.2% chance to win this game. They are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 52.5. This is two pretty good teams. Cowboys got off to a really slow start, but they have slowly gotten things going. The defense has been playing better somewhat. pretty bad so far this year still, but getting better every week. For the Lions, this is a team that can make the playoffs. This is a team that is a potential Super Bowl caliber team. They have a top 10 offense, and they have a top 10 defense. Right now, they average 26 points a game. They throw for 245.8. They run for 151.3, and they're only giving up 20.5 points a game. They have a great roster. Goff got off to a really slow start this season, but he's also getting better every single week. They have Gibbs, Montgomery, they have Williams, they have St. Brown. They have multiple weapons. They can beat you passing, they can beat you running, they can also beat you on defense. For the Cowboys, they're averaging 23.4, throwing for 271.6, running for 82. That's the issue right there. You're only averaging 82 rushing yards per game. That's not going to cut it in the NFL. That used to be their strength, was their offensive line and their run game. That's not so much for either one of those now. They have to get that issue sorted out, and their defense still is giving up 24.2 points a game. It was at 32 games ago, so it has come down, but they need to continue to work on that defense, get that number down. Needs to be 20 or sub 20. Right now, they have Prescott, Dowdle, CeeDee Lamb. Dowdle's only averaging, he has 221 rushing yards through 5 games, so he's only averaging 40 rushing yards per game. He's the team's leading rusher. Like I said, they need to work on the running game or try to add Adams, do something that's going to make the team better on offense. I have the Lions winning this one. It's close, though. Could go either way. But Lions pull it out 27-24. I do not have them covering the spread, and I'm going with the under. But this is one of those games that is 50-50. Don't sleep on the Cowboys here. This next one is one of the best offensive rosters in all of football versus one of the worst teams. At 4:25 p.m. on Fox, we have the 3-2 Atlanta Falcons. They'll be playing the 1-4 Carolina Panthers. Right now, the Falcons have a 62% chance to win this game. They are 6-point favorites. The over-under here is 46.5. Looking at the Falcons, I said week 1, no one panic. Kirk Cousins is very rusty, hasn't played in almost 2 years. Once he gets going with the new team, new scheme, they are going to catch fire. Everything is panned out that way. He had a massive game this past weekend versus the Bucs. He is closing in on 1,400 yards right now. They are slinging the ball up and down the field. They average 22.2 points per game. They throw for 260.6. They run for 96.8, and their defense is giving up 23 points a game. For the Panthers, they were the worst team in the NFL last season. I hate to break it to them, but they're probably the worst team in the NFL this season. Maybe them or the Patriots, but they're still bottom 2. They only average 16.6 points a game. They throw for 180.4. They run for 110.8, and their defense is historically awful, giving up 33 points a game. They give up twice as many points as they score. That does not fare well versus the Falcons, who their offense is hot right now. Looking at the Falcons roster, they have Cousins, they have Bijan Robinson, they have Algier, they have London, Pitts. This team is loaded at every single position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. For the Panthers, they obviously benched Bryce Young. They have the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, starting. He's not bad. He is definitely serviceable, but he can't make up for these roster holes. Chuba Hubbard, though, is actually having a really good season, but everything has been on his shoulders. He is closing in on 400 yards. I have the Falcons cruising here, winning this one 30-17, covering the spread, and just barely going with the over. Our next are the final game on Sunday night at 8:20 p.m. on NBC. The 1-4 Cincinnati Bengals. What an awful start for the Cincinnati Bengals. But don't sleep on them. Their roster is obviously a lot better than 1-4. And they'll be playing the 2-3 New York Giants. Right now, the Bengals have a 60.6% chance to win this game. They're only 4-point favorites here. The over-under is 47.5. Looking at the Bengals, all of their issues are on defense because they actually have a top 10 offense right now. They're averaging 28 points a game. They throw for 263. They run for 96, but their defense is giving up 29 points per game. They're scoring a lot of points, but their defense is still giving up just as many points to the other team's offense. Right now, the Giants, they average 17.8. They throw for 218.2. They run for 103.2. Solid defensive team. They're only giving up 20.8 points per game. Looking at the quarterback matchup here, Burrow is having a really good season. He is closing in on 1,400 yards. He has 12 touchdowns and only 2 picks. He's obviously leagues above Daniel Jones, but it's just how many points are the Bengals going to give up? Thankfully for the Bengals, the Giants can't really score that many points. Looking at these rosters, Cincinnati's He's loaded. They have Burrow, Brown, Chase, Higgins. The Giants, they have Singletary. Neighbors is not going to be playing this game. He still is in concussion protocol. That should help the Bengals because they give up a lot of points through the air. I have the Bengals still winning this one, finally getting their second win in Week 6, winning this one 27-20, covering the spread, but I'm going with the under. And we made it finally to our final game, the Monday night game, ESPN 8:15 p.m. The 3-2 Buffalo Bills versus the 2-3 New York Jets. A battle for the state of New York. Right now, Buffalo, they're riding a 2-game losing streak. They cannot afford to drop to 500, especially versus their in-state rival. The Bills, they average 28.4 points per game. They have a top 5 offense. They're throwing for 181.6. They're running for 118.2. But the team's played pretty sloppy the last 2 games. They need this win, and their defense is giving up 21.2 points per game. Looking at the Jets, they average 18.6. They have a lot of turnovers. They throw for 206.2. They run for 80.4. They have to get the rushing yards up. Josh Allen still doesn't have a pick this season. That's just one little factoid there. And they have a top 10 defense, only giving up 17 points a game. They are at home. We know that this is Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers, but it's all the off-the-field stuff that's going on. So the Jets fired Saleh, then they demoted Nathaniel Hackett. So it's a complete musical chair scenario going on. I was actually leaning towards picking the Jets this game to upset the Bills. Things were kind of setting up that way. Rodgers is due for a really good game. They are due for the win, but they have so much turmoil going on right now. Completely different guy calling plays, completely different head coach. There's too many moving factors there. I just can't go with the Jets right now. Bills, they have a pretty good roster. Obviously, they have Josh Allen, they have Cook, they have Shakir, they have Coleman. Jets have Rodgers, Hall, Wilson. They have to work on the running game. The defense is set, but with so many moving things going on, I have to go Bills winning this one. Still close because the Jets still have a solid defense. I have the Bills winning it 24-20, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. So that's our best bets. That's all of our Week 6 NFL matchups, the money lines, the spreads, and the over-unders. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you, guys.